First story. The echoes of Wyndham. I was driving down Route 302, a long stretch of road cutting through the dark forests of Wyndham, Maine. The night was thick, the kind that swallowed headlights and made the world feel smaller, more suffocating. My old Chevy rumbled beneath me, the only sound against the eerie silence outside. I had just passed an old, rusted road sign when I saw her. A girl, standing at the edge of the road. Pale, almost glowing under the moonlight. Her white dress fluttered in the cold wind, her dark hair hanging over her face. She didn't move, didn't flinch as I approached. I slammed on the brakes. My heart pounded. She looked so out of place, like a fragment of some forgotten nightmare. I rolled down my window. "Hey, you okay?" She didn't answer, just lifted her head slightly. I caught a glimpse of her face, skin too smooth, eyes too wide. My stomach turned. Something was wrong. The air grew thick. A pressure settled over my chest. The radio crackled with static. My headlights flickered. Then she moved. Not walked, not stepped, just appeared at my passenger window. I jerked back, my breath caught in my throat. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Just a whisper, a sigh. Cold air rushed into my car, carrying the scent of damp earth and something metallic. "Help me," she finally said. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but my hands wouldn't move. My foot stayed locked on the brake. I felt trapped in my own body, as if something unseen had wrapped itself around my limbs. Then I noticed the road behind her. It wasn't empty anymore. Shadows stretched unnaturally, figures emerging from the tree line. They stood still, watching, their eyes hollow pits of darkness. Panic surged through me. I hit the gas, tires screeching as I tore down the highway. My rearview mirror filled with moving shapes, things that shouldn't exist, things that didn't belong in the world of the living. But the girl was still there, in the seat next to me. Her reflection in the window didn't match her movements. Her mouth twisted into something inhuman. And she whispered again, her voice curling into my ears like a sickness. "You shouldn't have stopped." The road twisted, the trees closing in. My vision blurred, my limbs growing heavy. The last thing I saw was the sign, rusted, barely legible. Wyndham Asylum, closed since 1956. Second story. The echoes of Wyndham. I was driving down Route 43, a long, empty stretch of road cutting through the dense forests of Wyndham, Maine. It was midnight, and the air felt heavy, pressing against my chest like an unseen force. The headlights of my car cut through the darkness, illuminating the worn asphalt ahead. I had driven this way before, but something felt different. The trees seemed taller, their shadows stretching unnaturally long across the pavement. Then I saw her. A woman stood on the shoulder of the road, her dress torn, her dark hair hanging over her face. I slowed down, my fingers tightening on the steering wheel. My headlights illuminated her pale skin, her bare feet dusted with dirt. She didn't move, just stood there, head slightly tilted, as if listening for something. I pulled over, rolling down the window just enough. "Miss? Are you okay?" No response. The silence was unbearable. No crickets, no wind, nothing. Just the hum of my engine and the pounding of my own heartbeat. Then she moved. Not walked, shifted, like she had glided a few feet closer without actually stepping. My breath caught in my throat. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers clumsy against the screen. When I looked up again, she was standing by my window. Her eyes, hollow, black. Not just dark, like twin voids sucking in the world around them. I slammed the gas pedal. Gravel sprayed behind me as I sped off, my pulse hammering in my ears. But the rearview mirror showed something impossible. She was still standing in the same place, watching. A mile down the road, I let out a shaky breath. Maybe she was just bang! Something hit my roof. Hard. I swerved, nearly losing control. My headlights caught a road sign. Wyndham, 15 miles. 15 miles? That wasn't right. I should have passed the town by now. Then, another bang. This time, the sound was inside the car. I dared to glance at the rearview mirror. She was in the back seat, her face inches from mine, lips cracked open, whispering something I couldn't understand. My body froze. My mind screamed at me to move, but all I could do was stare as her words grew louder. Then I understood. Turn around. I clenched my jaw, forcing my foot down on the gas. No! Her head snapped to the side at an unnatural angle. Turn around. The road ahead stretched endlessly. I should have been near Wyndham, but the road just kept going, kept twisting, kept trapping me. The radio crackled, a voice my own echoed back at me. Turn around. I slammed on the brakes. Silence. The woman was gone. The road was normal. My hands trembled as I reached for the door handle. Then, in the mirror, my own reflection smiled. Welcome back, it whispered. The headlights flickered, and everything went dark. Third story. The Echoes of Wyndham. I was driving through Wyndham Highway, a desolate stretch of road cutting through the dense Maine woods. It was past midnight, and my headlights carved tunnels through the thick fog. The two-lane road was empty, winding endlessly through the darkness. My phone had no signal, and the radio played nothing but static. I shouldn't have taken this route, but I was late getting back to Portland. The thought of turning around crossed my mind more than once, but something, an unease in my gut, kept me moving forward. Then I saw him. A man stood on the shoulder of the road, barely visible through the mist. He was tall, wearing a long coat, his face obscured under the brim of a wide hat. His arm rose, thumb extended, a hitchhiker. Something about him felt wrong. I pressed the gas, passing him without slowing down. My heart pounded as I gripped the wheel, eyes locked on the road ahead. In my rearview mirror, he stood motionless, watching me. The further I drove, the stronger the feeling of unease grew, like a weight pressing down on my chest. Then I saw him again. 5 minutes later, as the road curved, he was there, standing in the exact same position, the same stance, the same slow lift of his thumb. I slammed the brakes, tires screeching. My pulse thundered in my ears. There was no way he could have gotten ahead of me. No cars had passed, no side roads, just miles of empty highway. I locked the doors, pressed the gas. The radio crackled. At first, just static. Then a voice. You should have stopped. It was soft, distorted, blending with the white noise. My breath caught in my throat. I turned off the radio, but the silence was worse. The road stretched into endless darkness. I glanced at my mirror, and my stomach turned to ice. The hitchhiker was sitting in my back seat. I screamed, nearly swerving off the road. My headlights flickered. The car groaned like something was inside the engine, crawling through it. I turned. Nothing. The back seat was empty, but the air was thick with the scent of wet leaves and something metallic. I drove faster. The trees blurred past, shadows stretching unnaturally long in my peripheral vision. My fingers ached from gripping the wheel too tightly. The road ahead twisted, leading deeper into Wyndham Woods. I couldn't stop. I couldn't turn around. Then a whisper, right in my ear. You can't leave. The car jerked. My vision blurred. Trees melted into darkness. Suddenly, the road was gone. I wasn't moving anymore. Silence. I was standing in the middle of the highway. My car had vanished. My breath formed clouds in the cold night air. The headlights of an oncoming vehicle burned through the mist. I turned my head, slowly. The hitchhiker stood ahead, hat still shadowing his face. You're part of it now, he murmured. The road shifted beneath my feet. My reflection stared back at me from the windshield of the approaching car. A driver, terrified, gripping the wheel, just like I had. I lifted my arm, my thumb extended.